Hey, welcome to the video for Basics Part 2. In this section, we're going to review some of the things you may have had in other years. So pay attention and keep notes on your pink form. First section, name the relationship. Is it complementary, linear pair, vertical angles, or adjacent angles? Just as a quick review, complementary angles that are two angles that add to 90. They do not necessarily have to be next to each other. Linear pair is when you have a line, just like the first part of linear is line, that is divided into two angles. They are next to each other or adjacent and they add to 180. Vertical is when you can see an X. If you see an X and the angles are across from each other, they are vertical or equal. And adjacent simply means that they are next to each other. So I want to go over a couple examples here. Number 1, I see an X, and these are across from each other, which makes them vertical. Next one, number 2, these two angles are next to each other. They're sharing this side, so we will say that they are adjacent. These two angles are adjacent next to each other, but even more particular, a better word we might even say is that they're complementary, because that box means 90, so clearly they add 90 degrees. That box means right angle. If you said that these are adjacent, I would accept that as true as well. And the last thing I want to do is number 8 here. We have a straight line, and there's two angles that make up that line, so we call that a linear pair. So I'd stop your video and make sure you have 1 to 10 filled in. Next section is 11 to 18, so hopefully you finished 1 to 10 already. I want to go over a couple here. If they want you to find a measure of angle B in each one. These two are next to each other on a straight line. A straight line has 180 degrees. If I already used 68, I will subtract that to find that there's 112 degrees left for angle B. I'll look at this one. I see a right angle, which is 90 degrees. I already used 65, so that means if I subtract the 65 from the 90, I have 25 left over. And the last one I'd like to go over, or actually I have 2 more. If you see an X, these angles in number 18 are vertical, which means they are equal. And if you see that you're going all the way around a circle, that is 360. So 360, I already used 293, and I already used 41. So if I subtract those out, which I'd like you to do on your own, that'll tell you what's left over for little angle B. So that'll give you some help. I'd pause it and make sure that you can do 11 to 18. Next section is 19 through 26. In these, you're supposed to find the value of X. I will help you write the equation, but I would like you to solve these on your own. Let's go over a few. Number 20. We have two angles here that add to 180, so I will actually put them together. 2x plus 68 equals 180, and then I will solve that. Another kind that we have is we have a complete circle here of angles. So that means all 3 of those, this big guy and these 2, add to 360. So I will start with my x1, x minus 14, plus the 101, plus the 219, equals my 360. And I'll make sure I combine like terms, because all of these can be combined before I go about solving that. Next one, I have vertical angles here, because I see the X. We remember that vertical angles are equal. 3x plus 2 equals 56. Looking at 25, I see the box. That reminds me that these 2 angles need to add to 90. The one angle is x minus 9. I will add to it the 66, and that should equal 90. That is how you could solve these problems. Remember, linear pair up here adds to 180. Complete circle is 360. vertical angles are equal, and this box means they add to 90. Next section. Next sections that I want to go over is not too tricky once you label what they give you. For example, in 28, it reads, this M means measure. Measure angle YFG. YFG 147. Label it right on your picture. Next one, measure angle EFY. So you should be looking at 28 and you fill in EFY is 30. The question is EFG. EFG is almost a straight line. I'm going to add these together to get the whole thing. 147 plus 30 is 177 degrees. The other one I want to do is number 29. They want you to find IGF. That's this angle right here. Measure of angle HGF. HGF, that's the whole thing, 165. HGI is 90. So if the whole thing's 165 and a piece of it's 90, I could subtract these to find that the angle that I'm missing is 75. Next one I want to do is number 33, because these you're going to be solving, writing an equation and solving it for x, and I will get you started. Measure angle LVW is 32x plus 4. Angle UVL is 22x plus 4. Measure angle UVW, the whole thing, 170. So the two angles together equal 170. So the one angle is 22x plus 4 plus the other angle, 32x plus 4, equals 170. Then use your great algebra skills to solve that. Next I want to do is 37. 37, the directions read find the length indicated. So I need to find SR. Notice there's no segment symbol above there. So that means I need to find from S to R, and I need a number answer. Let's see what I have here. Well, let's see. This whole piece, the whole thing from T to Q is 20. Okay, let's see. From T to R is 16. So the little piece on the end, if I subtract these, I'll get 4. Let's see what else I can do here. Well, from S to Q is 16. And if from R to Q is 4, if I subtract these, then I can get the piece that I need, which is 12. Flipping over, the next one I want to go over is number 41. This section, you just need to write an equation and solve it for x. You have a left piece plus a right piece equals your whole thing. So the left piece is x plus 13. The right piece is 15 plus x. That will equal 16. Please solve that equation. 45, they want you to find HI, but I see some x in here, so I'm first going to write an equation. X plus 8, the left plus the right, equals the whole thing, 2x minus 1. I will solve for x by taking all my x's to one side. I get 8 equals x minus 1, add 1. I get 9 equals x. I make the mistake sometimes of stopping there. I need to know what HI is, so I'm going to substitute that back in. Oh, good, it is just an x. And I'll say HI equals 9. Okay, the next one I want to do is 47. Find the midpoint of the line segment. Midpoint is the average. It is the middle between 2 points. To find an average, you add, average of two things, you add the two things and divide by 2. And you also add the two y's and divide by 2. Okay, so if I look at these 2 points here, my x values are -10 and -6. And if I divide that by 2, my two y values are 0 and 1. And divide that by 2. Feel free to use your calculator. -10 plus -6 is -16 divided by 2 is -8. 0 plus 1 is 1, divided by 2 is 1/2. or feel free to write 0.5. So that's 47, and you want to make sure you have the formula written there for midpoint. Okay, next one I want to go over is 51 and 53, then we're going to take a break. 51, again they want the midpoint. My formula is add the x's, divide by 2, comma, add the y's, divide by 2. So it's actually two formulas in there. Coordinates of this point, this looks like 5 to the right and 2 up. This one looks like negative 5 to the left, which is negative 5 and 2 down. So if I add my x's, 5 plus negative 5 divided by 2, and negative 2 plus 2 divided by 2, I add those, I get 0. 0 divided by 2 is 0. Add those together, I get 0 divided by 2 is 0. When it's a graph, I like to plot the point. 0, 0, and I like to think, does that look like the middle? Heck yeah, so I know I'm right. The next one I would like to do is 53. Again, we're talking about midpoint. But this time it's kind of weird. They give you one of the ends, and they give you what the midpoint is. You just need to find the other one. The formula, again, is x plus x divided by 2 and y plus y divided by 2. And that should equal your midpoint. Let's set each one up. My endpoint is 8 for x, so 8 plus x divided by 2 is supposed to equal this value, negative 3. And I'm going to solve that by multiplying both sides by 2 first. When I do that, I get 8 plus x equals negative 6. Then I will subtract 8 from both sides. X equals negative 14. Now I need to take care of the other formula. My y value is negative 6 plus the other y value I do not know. Divide by 2 and I know it equals 1. Multiply both sides by 2. Negative 6 plus y equals 2. Add 6. I know it's getting a little small. I hope you're okay seeing. You get y is 8. So my midpoint, negative 14, 8. So again, endpoints are what you can fill in for the x and the y, and then midpoint is what it equals. These are tricky. Please make sure you might want to watch this one a couple times before you do 54, 55, and 56.